Ninja Saviors, Return of the Warriors.
Hey everyone, I'm gonna be a ninja now. I'm a ninja.
Heck yeah, ninjas. So this game has a long and storied history. It started out as very simply Ninja Warriors on the arcade.
Was it the Ninja Warriors or just Ninja Warriors?
I don't remember. Doesn't matter. Well, I mean, I'm sure it does to some people. But could be either. But Ninja Warriors on the arcade. And it was kind of an interesting arcade cabinet because it was 3 monitors wide. The middle one was a 4:3 monitor, and then they used a projector to project the left and right monitor to the left and right of the center screen. The arcade game was also known for having a very, let's call it, unique soundtrack, where the opening song, of course, for stage 1 was called Daddy Mulk.
Yep.
And this game, or I shouldn't say this game, we'll get to that in a second, the arcade game was ported and re-released for the Super Nintendo. In the United States, it was simply called Ninja Warriors. In Japan, it was called Ninja Warriors Again. Because it was, after the arcade game.
Yeah.
They did a lot of refining, a lot of porting. This game was developed by Natsume.
Kind of, yes, that one.
And they have a kind of a core development group called Tengu that actually did the development on this. That Tengu group within Natsume not only worked on Ninja Warriors, but also Wild Guns, which we've seen elsewhere on the channel.
Specifically these versions, right?
Yes. The Super Nintendo version of Ninja Warriors also had a revamped soundtrack, revamped graphics. It was barely a port. It was, honest to goodness, just a new game. Even though it had,
probably why the Japanese title got again attached to it.
Yeah. It was effectively just a new game. Fast forward to today, and by today I mean a couple years ago at this point. Tengu got together again and started porting a number, or not porting, but updating and re-releasing a number of their core games from back in the day. They brought back Wild Guns as Wild Guns Reloaded, which is what we played on the channel. They brought back Ninja Warriors as Ninja Warriors once again. Or I should say, the Japanese Super Nintendo was Ninja Warriors again. The Japanese version of this game was Ninja Warriors once again. In the States, the Super Nintendo version was Ninja Warriors, and this version that we are currently playing is Ninja Saviors: Return of the Warriors. So they've had different names going back, but that's this game. It is updated. It is... Functionally, it's the Super Nintendo game. It is not an entirely new game in that regard, in the same way Wild Guns Reloaded was.
Neat.
It is functionally the Super Nintendo game. All the same enemies, the same spawns, but it's updated. It's given 16:9 aspect ratio, higher definition sprite work, more refined controls, what have you. It has the same soundtrack as the Super Nintendo version, but not Super Nintendo chiptune. Like, it's just the Super Nintendo version, but better.
I'm going to be honest with you. Out of all that spiel you just went through, I like the fact that the Japanese version of the name of this game is the Ninja Warriors once again, because it works on, so many levels, and, a couple of those levels are, you could almost get it to, it's the Ninja Warriors once again.
Once again.
Or it's it's the Ninja Warriors once again, guys! They're back again!
So, a couple things that you get out of this, though, is there is a single-player mode. There's a multiplayer mode. It's local co-op only. The same thing as Wild Guns Reloaded. I get it. Online net play is hard. Going into options, much like, despite that there's so many options here, much like Wild Guns Reloaded, you will find that this group is not particularly big on accessibility options. So they give you a lot of options for display, but it's all mechanical things. What resolution is it playing in? That kind of thing. The closest you get to an accessibility option is under display, because they didn't have anywhere else to put it. Effect color. This is the blood color of the enemies.
Ah.
By default, it's off, which is like green or something. If you turn it on, the humanoid enemies will have red blood effect come off
Is
of
it just
them.
a weird censorship thing?
I
or-
think so. That's
Okay.
literally it, though.
I don't know if it was because surprisingly, people really don't know this that we over here really get a lot of uncensored stuff according to like Japan. There is, if you ever get the chance, it's a little gory because it's just presented this way. But you need to see the comparison between like the Resident Evil 7 and Biohazard 7. Where the cop gets his head, half his head shoveled off. Because over here it's like, ugh, but over there it's just like, it's just simple, like, it almost looks like a cake getting like split in half and everything. And it's like, people just don't realize that we get a lot of stuff uncensored over here in comparison.
So what we do get, though, is we get stuff like scanline effects. But there's no gameplay options, which is what I kind of refer to as accessibility options. So nothing like, hey, do you want to turn on infinite continues or something like that. This was the same issue we ran into with Wild Guns Reloaded, where I had to hack our way to give us infinite continues.
Well,
to
yeah,
get
that's
us
because they
through.
kind of made it an online always kind of game, where it's
Yeah.
like you were always fighting against the the leaderboards.
I think it's also that they updated the... And they kind of have done the same thing with this game, but we kind of have the benefit with this game of the original being a little better off in this regard. Of just taking the Super Nintendo version and not touching it. Which means, like, yeah, that difficulty that was in Wild Guns Reloaded, that's just how the Super Nintendo version was, and they didn't touch that.
Yeah.
And they haven't put in any accessibility options or anything for anything like that. Same thing with this game, but this game treats us a little bit better. I don't have to cheat this one. A couple neat things that this does have, though. Audio settings. The default soundtrack is Once Again, which is the updated Super Nintendo version of the music. Once you beat the game, it unlocks the arcade music,
Oh.
which means if you want to, you get to hear Daddy Malk.
Oh, that's funny.
Um,
I mean, I'd stick with the ones again.
yeah. And once you beat the game with one of the new characters, which I haven't talked about yet, but is also something Wild Guns Reloaded did, once you beat the game with that, it unlocks again. This is the Super Nintendo version of the music.
Ah, that's neat.
So if you want it's the same thing as Once Again, but the chiptune version,
Yeah.
effectively.
See, I like it when they do stuff like this, where it's like, did you want to listen to the original soundtrack? Because Thousand Year Door Remake did that, to where you can go like,
we're
you can
we're just gonna listen to Once Again. By the way,
Yeah.
the new soundtrack.
where they can go like, do you want to listen to the old soundtrack? Go ahead and do this option, and you can listen to it.
And then last but not least, there is a manual, which I think is nice instead of just dropping you in and wishing you the best of luck, which is... This is very simple at just telling you what's on the HUD as we play. Armor down there on the bottom is your health gauge. We will share health. This is just how the game works. It's kind of a jerk move, but whatever. We will share health. The yellow gauge below that is your super gauge. Your super moves will take an amount of that gauge to do. When it's full, you can bomb, which is a screen clear. Otherwise, you just have a boss meter up top, timer on the right, that kind of thing. You have your movement, which is fairly simple. You can walk, you can crouch, you can jump. Your jumping is not for movement. None of the characters can jump very high or fast. Jumping
I
is
think even in the original arcade game, they weren't very jump heavy.
Yeah.
They were just like walk forward until you game over and then put in another quarter.
Yeah, your jumping is mostly there to open up a different set of moves that you can do while in the air. Otherwise, you can smack guys. If you hold down the attack button, you can guard. If you guard and press jump, you can somersault. This is the closest thing to a real jump that the characters have. You cannot do your airborne moves while doing that, though. And then gauge skills are your super, which effectively is if you hit up and attack, you do your super. That's mostly it. If you hit B and you have the full gauge, that'll use your bomb. Each individual character, of which there are 5, so in the arcade version there were only 2 characters.
Yeah.
Ninja and Kunoichi. The Super Nintendo version added, what's his name,
Kamatachi.
I think. And then this version adds 2 additional characters, which I'll get to. So Kunoichi is generally pretty quick and mobile. She's good at getting out of the way of attacks. She doesn't hit very hard, though. She's very dodgy, I guess you could say. And I think each character doesn't control as differently as I think these set it out to be. Because it shows a charge attack, which is hitting up and X in the air. That is still just a super move. That's a gauge move. Everybody has an up and X while in the air. Or most characters do. You can grab enemies by walking into them. Every character has a different throw based on what direction you hit before you hit attack while you're throwing an enemy. So every character has an up throw, down throw. So it's just listing that she has a down throw when they all have a down throw.
I guess it's like specific abilities for the characters.
I feel like these are pinpointing out... Sometimes it is pinpointing out things that they specifically can do, but other times I think it's focusing on things that kind of make this character what this character is. Ninja is heavy. He is your heavy character. He is slow and methodical, but he hits like a truck. He really does not jump. I mean, I've already mentioned that, but you just kind of don't jump with him. He does, however, have probably his signature move is his boost dash. If you hit over and jump, he'll dash across the arena, and if you hit attack during that, he'll spin into this big kick and just knock out like 3 guys. He is also very good at throwing. He can pick things up. Most characters, when you try to pick something heavy up, have to struggle with it to get it up, and then once they have it up, cannot move. He will just pick anything up, and he can walk around the arena with them. So if you're playing as him, you're mostly using boost dash and throwing. And then Kamaitachi, I think, was the new character in the Super Nintendo version, who I haven't played enough as him to really have a grasp on what he can do. But still has, he has an up and attack super. He has a back throw. That's everybody does.
I think the thing from him was that he doesn't grab as well as everyone else. Yeah. I think he has like a different set.
He has to have some kind of throw, or he's going to have trouble later on. But I don't know.
I mean, throw attack's right there during a normal attack.
During a normal attack. Maybe you have to do that. I'm not sure. But there is a part in the game where he would struggle if he didn't have a throw. Quick attack, spinning heel kicks, that's just down and A, so that's like a Mega Man slide, but he just kind of does a kick instead. And down and attack. Everybody can attack while crouching. I'm not sure how that is different. So the 2 new characters are Yaksha on the right and Raiden on the left. You have to beat the game with one of the 3 originals in order to unlock Yaksha. You then have to beat the game again to unlock Raiden. these two characters play, Raiden especially, play very differently. Yaksha is... I'm not going to play her well. I'm just going to point that out right at the start. She is a very high skill ceiling character. She is probably the best character in the game in terms of like raw ability to get through the game, but in a high skill ceiling kind of way. So if you're not good at playing her, she's not going to be that impressive. If you are really good at playing her, you're just going to wreck everything. She's pretty good at zipping around the arena. She's pretty good at grabs. She's kind of just good at everything. Raiden...
I want to help set the stage for Raiden real quick. So, you can see these little things at the bottom here that tell you like how tall the characters are, how much they weigh. So, to help put it in perspective here, I'm 10 centimeters taller than Kamatachi here, which means that I'm 15 centimeters shorter than Ninja. Raiden's 400 centimeters tall, which is 4 meters tall. I'm nearly 2 meters tall, and I'm 6'5".
If you want another
I'm getting to that here in a second.
Yeah.
So you notice that you mentioned something important. So you notice that all their weight is in kilograms, and like the heaviest of these three is Kamatachi at 100 kilograms. Then you get Ninja, who's 700 kilograms.
Which is heavy.
Yeah, and then you get to Raiden, who's 32 tons.
Yeah, that's not kilograms.
No,
He's 32 tons.
They gave up on kilograms. They went like, no, there's no way that's going to fit on the screen. Let's just go to tons and make it easier.
He weighs as much as 8 cars.
Yeah.
So these are all largely in centimeters and kilograms. In freedom units, Ninja, I think, is...
Yes, can you say that in the ways that you can understand, like burgers?
Ninja, I think 210 centimeters is about 7 feet.
Yeah,
I think
195 is how tall I am in centimeters, and that's 6'5", so...
Yeah, I think he's about 7 feet tall. 700 kilograms is heavy.
I think we went over this the other day, because I was showing you that thing where it's like, Sagat was like 220-some centimeters tall, and I was like, that's like over 7 feet. How... Has Sagat always been that tall?
Yeah, 700 kilograms is heavy. He's... Oh, I forget how much he weighs. It's like 1,500 pounds or something. Yeah, it's something like 1,500 pounds.
Yeah, for 700 kilograms, that seems about right.
Which, as I mentioned before, he's your heavy. He does not jump. He does not go in the air. In fact, in any situation where he has to leave the ground, he has a friggin' booster on his back, and that's what he has to use to get him off the ground. Kunoichi, Kamatachi, and Yaksha are all relatively normal weights for a person, I think.
Which is weird because they're all robots.
Yeah. Kunoichi is probably about 5'6", 5.5 feet, roundabout. 65 kilograms is like 150, 140, 50 pounds. Kamaitachi's a little bit taller. I think he's around 6 feet.
Yeah, like I said, he's shorter than me by 10 centimeters.
Yeah.
So.
Around 6 feet, weighs, I think, near 200 pounds. Yaksha is a short stack. She is just a hair over 5 feet tall and weighs about 100 pounds. And then there's Raiden, who is...
He's just basically a boss.
He is, actually. You know how in beat-em-ups and things, you get your super bosses that are like twice as tall as the regular characters, about the same height as the entire screen? Yeah, he's a super boss. He is the most gimmicky character to play, and can be devastatingly powerful in some situations. Because he is so large and so slow, he is devastatingly powerful, but it's very easy for him to just get mobbed and absolutely destroyed. Which, like, yeah, your hitbox is half the screen.
Yeah.
but he's also unbelievably powerful when used right. So you may dance around between different characters. I'm going to be playing almost entirely as Yaksha.
I think I'm probably going to stick with Ninja.
Ninja is who I beat the game as first, and I really enjoyed Ninja. It's a slower, more methodical play, but you start to get a read on how each enemy acts, how to respond to each enemy, what you're good at to make your way through.
There's a specific reason I like Ninja, and we'll get to that when we start playing.
And Yaksha is just... I love her aesthetic. I love the aesthetic of the character. I like the headdress thing. It gives me, like, Egyptian pharaoh vibes, and I'm not sure why.
I'm pretty sure it's, like, probably supposed to be, like, Southeast Asia kind of culture, like Malaysia or something like that.
I mean, these are all...
I'm probably way off.
I wonder if it's, like, Japanese princess, because these are all named after ninjas. Or not named, but they're all based on ninjas.
Well, Yakshi is more of a whole, like, Buddhist demon thing, so you literally have wherever Buddhism touched, that's just
true.
Basically the whole thing there.
I'm a demon.
Yeah, no, there's a specific reason I picked Ninja. You'll know it the moment I pull it off here in a second.
So I love how they walk up and then they stop and kind of apprehensively... Yeah, let's go!
I was gonna say the thing I like about your character is the fact that, like, everyone else just wears ninja shit and you're here in a tracksuit.
So you can see the gauge on the back. And you'll notice, like, I mean, for one, the obvious thing is my character has the big ol' badonkadonks. And there is actually...
Elbow drop!
There is actually a reason for that. Let me get him if he gets back up. Assuming I don't get friggin' shot in the face!
I'm trying to get it.
You have a hard time hitting this guy. That's why. I got extendo arms! And the reason my character is so large-chested is because that's where she stores them. During some moves, when you can see her arms extend out, you can actually see her chest get smaller.
Yeah, I think when you showed that off, really, you went flat for most of it. Hey, this is literally the only reason I picked Ninja, because I can just do an elbow drop.
So, something that I will be doing potentially a lot more than you, I don't know, is guarding. Just guard a lot, and you can then do the somersault with the jump button. I'm also going to be duck attacking a lot, because a lot of enemies will decide to run up and hit you. I always try to do the friggin' extendo arm one, and I always hit the wrong button. No, get up, please. So we all have little super moves, as I mentioned before. These crates, and whenever you see the yellow ones, have health in them.
I'll be up there in a second.
Oh, that's my up. That's my up throw. So something that I think is really nice about this game is one of the biggest problems that you usually get in beat-em-ups is knocking enemies off the edge of the screen. And this game is really nice about... there's like an invisible barrier when an enemy goes off screen where they will not go beyond a certain distance. And that distance is usually as far as it takes you to reach them. Have a Jeep. Have a Jeep. Destroy!
I'm a ninja.
And 1,500-pound ninja.
And he exploded.
His arms fell off.
I was going to ask you this when we were in that option menu, but it's also fun to be in here. Do you mind when games give you, like, the option for, like, you can add scan lines like you used to have in these old things?
I don't like them, but I don't... Like, if the game's gonna add it as an option, then kind of whatever.
Like, an option, it's not an on by default.
Yeah, I'd sort of prefer it not be on by default. So we've got a couple new enemies here, and they're sort of a pain in the butt to deal with. If you just want to get up and... So you are really good at cornering enemies. Like, your character always wants to be along, like, on one side of the enemies.
Who, me?
Yes. Like, on one side of all the enemies. That way you can just dash into them and knock them off the edge of the screen. Because if you get enemies off the edge of the screen and just duck and attack, you have enough reach that you can just constantly hit them. They will not go too far. I love that. I love any attack where I get to use my arms. Ninjas. These ninjas can be kind of a pain in the butt. They'll start, like, duck attacking you, so if you just try to walk up and punch them, they'll, like, duck under it and then hit you. They can also throw a kunai, which your character has a hard trouble dealing with because you're not very good at being in the air. This robot can only be hurt by either throws, supers. In fact, I don't even think all supers. Oh, I don't have super. Your super meter is kind of use it or lose it. Your super meter is kind of use it or lose it, because if you get knocked down, I think there's a chance you don't lose it, but if you get knocked down, you pretty much always just lose your entire super meter. These guys have flamethrowers. No, not flamethrowers, they just have a gun. But a gun, and they can toss little grenades on the ground. These short idiots are a pain in the butt, because they hang back just outside of physical range. Oh no, we blew up. They hang back just outside of physical range, and then they lunge at you. Pain in the butt little things. So game overing is not the end of the world. You have infinite continues.
I'm assuming on hard mode it's different.
I don't know, actually. You have infinite continues, and you start over at the start of the current room you are in. Yeah. No. Look at what even hit me. Oh, it's you, you piece of crap. I hate these flying things so much. Come. No, you get out of here. One really nice thing about this game is that you get a lot of iframes. Like, while you're picking something up, the whole animation, you have iframes.
Oh, that was that charged hit.
his buddy. So these fans are real heckin' dangerous, so I'm just kind of chilling here.
Oh, there's a guy there.
Oh, big guy's still there.
Grab that energy real quick.
Those big guys are actually kind of hard to grab from the front, which gives your character trouble. Using the flip to get in close to them, though, helps a lot.
Does the steam hurt, or is it just for aesthetics?
I think it's just aesthetic. Nope, I don't want to be near you. Yeah, get wrecked. Butts. I was hoping I could hit him with that, but my aim was off. Get guide! If you game over against bosses, you usually start over right at the boss, too.